Hearing from hundreds of women today, including one from North Texas, who say that their breast implants made them pretty sick.
Tonight, survivors of breast implant-associated lymphoma say their numbers are growing.
The FDA has been investigating the link between symptoms of breast implants.
I asked my plastic surgeon, are they safe? Of course they are. They didn't talk about how it can attack how your body sees it as a foreign object, and it will flare up autoimmune issues. The shell of all implants are still made of silicone. The silicone shell is made up of 40 different chemicals, and it's sitting right there on your chest and your lungs, near your brain.
Society has told us that we have to have certain shapes in order to be accepted and be beautiful, and yet we come in all shapes and sizes. And maybe just starting to let women just love their bodies the way they are and not go through all the changes just to be accepted by society. This is fairly recent, yeah. I actually didn't know anything about breast implant illness until 2017. I just thought I was aging very poorly and my life was not going to be very long. I'm Debby Freeman. I'm a 58-year-old woman. I live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been here since 2012. I'm a single woman. I have 2 grown daughters. They both live in San Diego, California. One's a real estate agent, one's a bookkeeper for an accountant. They're doing really well. I'm very proud of them. They've been the highlight of my life. I did go to school, and then life took me a different path, and then a different path. And I never quite got back on the path that I wanted to be on. An interior designer. Yeah, so this is like, I'm so distracted by all the pretty stuff. I have an interesting job where I have 2 clients. I take care of one from 9 till 1 morning shift, and then I have a 4-hour break, and then I have a 5 to 10 shift. And I mostly sit, I make her breakfast, I might take her to a doctor appointment or something. I don't do a lot of strenuous activity. But when I get home, I'm exhausted, and I lay down for a few hours, and then go to my next client where I sit and watch TV with her or take her on some errands. But it's pretty sedentary, which I know is also not good for you. And yet I don't really have the strength to do a whole lot else. So I get home at 10 o'clock, I go right to bed and get up and go do it all the same again the next day. I'm a caregiver. It's about all I can actually do given the physical condition I'm in. I was a reduction in lift. After having 2 children and breastfeeding, you kind of need a little assistance there. And my mom went with me to the appointment, and he held them up and said they'd be like right about here, nice big cup, nothing too big. I said, that'd be great. I went back to him when I was recovered, and he said, so now you're complaining you're too small? No, I'm complaining you left me with nothing. I'm wearing an A-cup bra that doesn't even have anything behind it. Well, we didn't do this for aesthetics, we did this for back pain. Okay, but you are a plastic surgeon. I kind of thought you would have left me looking appealing. So he was rather snotty about the whole thing, and I got free implants that I didn't really want. And I started having rheumatoid arthritis symptoms in 2003. I was 43 years old. I was a healthy, slender woman, and everything went downhill from there. I lost my gallbladder the year after I got my implants for no reason whatsoever other than it just started acting up suddenly. I had to have a hysterectomy the following year. And none of it did I tie to the implants. I didn't, because they were safe. I was told they were safe. And then I started feeling fibromyalgia symptoms. I hadn't been to a doctor, but everything that everybody said about it, that explained what I was feeling. My hair started falling out, turned white. I have thyroid issues. I have heart palpitations that don't show up on a monitor. I developed high blood pressure. Blurry eyes, it's weird. I can't look at a computer screen or a phone screen for very long. My eyes get completely blurry and nothing I can do to make them see properly. I have great vision without stressing the eye muscles. I didn't know what that meant. I'd go to an eye doctor and he'd say, you're fine. There's nothing, no prescription we can give you to correct this. So I try not to look at a computer too long, which limits what kind of job I can do. I don't have a lot of stamina. I get really easily tired. And I always thought I was very healthy. For a good 8 years I was a vegan. I ate well, I exercised. I started gaining weight, couldn't figure out how to get it off me. And I realized only recently that a lot of it was more inflammation than it was fat. And due to physical reactions to certain foods, I've limited down to, I eat protein and vegetables now. No sugars, no carbs, no dairy, no any of that. They all caused a 30-pound inflammation increase in my body. But I still don't have the stamina or the strength to do anything that would require me to stand or walk for lengths of time. That's why I'm doing the job I'm doing. And it doesn't pay very well. Never wanted them. Actually, I have a backward story. I was a rather large-breasted woman most of my life, and always wanted a reduction. And after begging for one for 10 years, I finally got one. I went from a large double D to less than an A cup, which is not what the Beverly Hills plastic surgeon told me. He said I'd be a pretty full B, which was perfect. That's all I wanted. But when I recovered from the surgery, I had absolutely no breast at all. I was markedly upset, and his solution to keeping me from suing him was to give me implants. I thought they were still off the market. I didn't even know they were being offered anymore. And oh no, we have the safe saline ones now. So, much to my chagrin, I went from a reduction to implants. And he made those bigger so that I wouldn't complain about being too small. And my information on it, back then Google wasn't a big thing. Finding out about implants or the safety of them or anything else wasn't there. And on my way out of the office, the receptionist said, we'll see you in 10 years. And I said, oh no, I am never doing this again. And she goes, oh no, you have to. They have to be replaced every 10 years. That's something that you should have told me before you put them in. And then 8 years in, my right implant ruptured. But because it's the safe saline kind, they said there was no worry to that, just whenever you can have them replaced. And we have these brand new ones out now. They're the gummy bear ones. They're even better. They don't leak even if you get a rupture. I didn't have the $10,000 that it would cost to have them removed and replaced. So I've been living without them, or one, since 2006. No, there weren't any risks involved. They were safe saline implants. Even if they ruptured, your body absorbs saline, so there's no concern about silicone being spread throughout your body. And what they don't tell you is, while an implant sitting out here is fine, when you put it inside a warm, moist environment for any length of time, the outside shell that is made of silicone starts to break down. And that's the problem that I'm having. A lot of women have found that their safe saline implants are moldy on the inside. I don't know what I might be facing. I feel like I have a fungal infection. I don't know. I don't have insurance, and I don't have any extra money to go to a doctor. I have a lot of pain that travels up from the breast up into my jaw and into my ear. In 2010, I couldn't stand to be in my body anymore, so I took a handful of pills. No. In fact, again, I didn't tie it to the implants. All the illnesses I was facing, I didn't, up until I ran into Nicole Dorada's Facebook page, which I saw a word explant, and I thought, what's an explant? And I followed this trail down the rabbit hole and went, oh, that makes sense. That explains everything. The suicidal tendencies, the depression, the weight gain, the pain, all the autoimmune disorders. That makes sense. And a friend of mine sent me a link to a group of doctors that do like Doctors Without Borders, and they were going to do their very first surgery center thing here in the United States. They always travel out of the States. And they were taking care of women who had breast cancer and implant issues, and so I signed up, and I went and met with the doctor, and because they're safe saline implants, they don't want to remove the outside scar tissue capsule that your body creates to protect you from these implants. And after doing a lot of research, we learned that it's important to take that out too, because it has a lot of the biofilm problems with it. And if you leave them in, a lot of women were noticing more health problems because you've now exposed your body to them. They're currently sealed, so to speak. And the standard of care for saline implants is not to remove the scar tissue capsule, just the shell. And I begged him, I don't want new implants, I just want you to take them out properly. And he refused. So I had to turn down free surgery that I thought wouldn't do me any good. So that was very upsetting. I was so excited. And that's the only medical treatment I've sought since I discovered that they're probably causing a problem. So. Well, the problem with that is, and even women who have regular insurance are fighting their insurance to take care of this. When you're on a county-funded medical program, you don't typically get anything that's not deemed medically necessary. And this so far has not been brought to the front to show that it is a medically necessary thing. I'm only assuming that that's the kind of care I'd receive, and the jumping through hoops to try and convince them that this is what I need and not a bunch of prescriptions that they want to put me on that would not really help the situation. So difficult. I begged my oldest daughter to help me write up a GoFundMe page because she's an English major, and I thought having it come from a family member versus myself might get a little more interest if she shared it with her friends and co-workers, that it might get some traction. And I don't know if she was embarrassed or didn't want to believe that that's what was happening to me, but she didn't want to help. I created my own. It didn't really draw much interest, which I didn't think it would. And anytime I bring up any of the symptoms or any of the physiological limitations I feel like I'm having, I don't get a whole lot of support. I get, well, you should go to a doctor. Well, they cost money. And I don't have that. defeated. A miracle? For me and so many other women. I read stories of women that are bedridden, and I fear that's what's coming to me. Yeah, I dressed up today. I have psoriasis patches that flare up on my face, around my eyes. I have 2 spots on both back of my ears. Luckily, I'm able to hide it well. I don't feel normal. I haven't felt normal in 20 years. And I know I can't go on much further. I'm finding it becomes more apparent. There's a lot more light being shown on this now. Several cities have had news broadcasts that have talked about it. The group is growing exponentially just by word of mouth. We have 3 pretty well-known doctors now that have seen that breast implant illness is actually a thing. They're quite sought after. Dr. Chun in Newport Beach has a year-long waiting list, and that's all he does. He doesn't do any other plastic surgery. He only does explants. And there's Dr. Fang in Ohio. I don't know how long her waiting list is, but I know it's difficult to get in to see her. And then there's a doctor in Costa Rica who's also started a clinical study on the effects of implants and the healing that women are going through once they come out. And from what I understand, he's quite busy doing the same thing. We currently have a doctor here in Vegas who's starting to see the realness of the fact that they are causing problems. I don't know how full on board he is with it. I know he's done 3 or 4 surgeries for ladies that have been in the group, and they've talked very highly about him. Finding doctors that are willing to admit that maybe these foreign objects put inside somebody's body isn't a great idea. It's a gravy train. It's a simple procedure to put them in, doesn't cost them a whole lot of money, and they make pretty good money out of it from what I understand, and taking them out's not the same.